Welcome to the Empowered Wife podcast, where it's all about fixing your marriage without your man's conscious effort so that you feel desired and taken care of and special, even if your relationship feels completely hopeless. I'm Laura Doyle, and today I'm talking about the Adored Wife Roadmap. My guest Charlie was angry and confronted her husband about not helping with their financial life and the lack of activity in the bedroom, too. Then they separated. But Charlie had an epiphany about how to solve the problems in her marriage, and today they are back together. And the physical intimacy is frequent, and he compliments her all the time. She's going to tell us what she did so you can do it too. The Worst Relationship Advice of the Week award goes to a bumper sticker about what to expect when you're married, but it's got it all wrong. All that's coming up, but first let's talk about the Adored Wife Roadmap. A student named Gigi once told me that she wanted to have intimacy in her marriage, but she didn't really know what it looked like. She said, I've been married for over 20 years, and I feel like I just don't even know what intimacy is. And I knew what she meant. I was similarly baffled in the early days of my marriage. Was intimacy just physical? Just another way to say sex? What did emotional intimacy look like? I wasn't sure. Whatever it was, I knew I wanted to have it. And although I knew I had experienced it at times, I really had no idea why that happened or how to create more of it. I had no concept of the 6 intimacy skills or that there was anything I could do to nurture the intimacy. I didn't realize I was unwittingly crushing the emotional and physical connection in my marriage. I thought that intimacy and tenderness were something that just happened if you picked the right guy. And I believed it looked something like those vacation videos where the handsome guy throws the beautiful woman up in the air in the pool. I also had a deep, dark fear that intimacy was reserved for only those who are lovable. And I wasn't sure I was lovable, and I was definitely afraid to find out. And I was scared that I was too damaged, too needy, too strong-willed, and not pretty enough. Even after I was married, I worried I would always feel the gnawing misery of loneliness and that there would be nothing I could do about it because it wasn't in my control. I believe that some lucky people experience intimacy and that the unlucky ones don't. Of course, I knew that if I wanted to be a good volleyball player or be able to make a mean risotto or deliver a moving talk from a stage, I just needed to find a good teacher and learn how and practice. But intimacy, that was different. It was more mysterious, I thought. I had no idea it was a matter of expertise, like everything else in life, and that there were 6 intimacy skills that would not only help me feel lovable and loved every single day, but would also make me more attractive. The 6 intimacy skills are not theoretical. They're proven time and again with many thousands of women in 19 languages and 30 countries. And now that I know them, I can't shut up about them. I want every woman to know the simple, practical things that she can do to create the gratifying, exhilarating, addicting experience of being loved every day just for being herself. But one problem I ran into early on with trying to get the word out to as many women as possible about these intimacy skills was that just rattling off the names of them didn't explain them. It didn't help anyone understand how she could use those specific skills in her situation with her unique challenges or what difference it would even make. It was about like listing the names of 6 movies and expecting someone to feel moved as if she'd seen those movies, even though she hadn't. That just doesn't work. There's a saying that the word water isn't going to quench your thirst. So I created the Adored Wife Roadmap, which gives not just the names of the skills, but a high-level overview of the steps to becoming an adored wife and some other things like the common mistakes that wives make trying to get his attention and his affection. But when you ask for the Adored Wife Roadmap, which is free, I confess, I have a whole other agenda. See, I want you to have the roadmap, just like I'd want you to have the directions before you go on a trip. But then I also want to take you on that journey. I want to give you more secrets, more inspiration, more insight on how this applies to your life. So the Adored Wife Roadmap is the start. You can get that at lauradoyle.org. That's how I'm able to send you emails where I share some personal things about my journey and what's worked for other students. I also want to show you as much as humanly possible about how to make your marriage last and thrive, and also help inspire and invigorate you about why that is so worth doing. I think you can tell I'm pretty passionate about that, right? And from my experience with helping thousands of women fix their marriage, I know you'll be more successful in your relationship if I can spend some time going over the specific application of the skills with you and give you exercises so you can practice. I put together a free masterclass so you can do that. And you get invited to that when you ask for the Adored Wife Roadmap, but not before, because the desire to be an adored wife has to come from you. Otherwise, that's just me being controlling. Again, what we do around here is not for everyone. It's only for women who want to be adored, want to be ridiculously happy, and have the courage and the commitment to do things they've never done before so they can have the kind of marriage they've never had before. I'm just ridiculously passionate about making sure every woman who wants to have a playful, passionate relationship gets the goods she needs, not just the information, but the encouragement, the support, the structure, and the inspiration. That's vital for success in marriage, in my experience. If you're one of those women, if that describes you, then thanks for your commitment to having a great marriage. The world needs more women like you. If you're wondering how to get started with fixing your relationship and making it shiny again, then you need a roadmap. Get 6 simple steps to follow that will set your relationship up for success. Discover 3 common mistakes that wives make trying to fix their relationship that just make things worse when you download my free Adored Wife Roadmap. You can do that at getcherished.com. Go to getcherished.com now to get your roadmap in minutes. My guest, Charlie, was angry and confronted her husband about not helping with their financial life and the lack of activity in the bedroom. Then they separated. But Charlie had an epiphany about how to solve the problems in her marriage. And today they're back together. The physical intimacy is frequent and he compliments her all the time. She's going to tell us what she did so you can do it too. Charlie, welcome to the Empowered Wife podcast. I'm so excited you're here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, tell us what things were like in the bad old days in your marriage.
Our story is not that different than many people. We're both highly educated professionals. Our kids have high medical needs, and it was just, the trudge of the days of hard days. A beautiful life, but hard days. And certainly during the time that I wasn't working, I did take several years off with both of my children. I felt like I had to carry the basket of the house, and he would carry the basket working. And the basket just kept getting fuller and fuller and fuller. And I was carrying the financial decision basket. And that one was a very heavy basket for me to carry alone. Mm-hmm. And I the entire time I carried it alone, I didn't think I was angry at him for it. I thought I was respected in my decision-making. I thought he was grateful. I thought I really helped take something off his plate. He had a high demand career, and he was making his way up the ladder. And so I really felt like I was a good wife by just not quite the handing him a pipe and slippers when he came up from work, but really it was kind of my goal that he would bear it all while I stayed home with the kids. for the years that I did. And, you know, we luckily had some household help. So I didn't really have trouble with, you know, chores or the dishes or anything like that, that a lot of people have. You know, I really felt like the load was carried fairly, not equally, but fairly amounts.
Yeah.
But the decision making that was the beast that would wake me up in the middle of the night and say, are we making this financial decision? Should we pay off this? Should we get a better interest rate on that? What should we do? What should we do? And I felt like I was making the decisions alone. And he would bless all the decisions. He's never been resentful or unhappy or anything that I would decide to do, even in a state of utter failure. He would say, could have gone the other way too. You know, sometimes you win, sometimes the stock goes up, sometimes the stock goes down. We can't always win, but overall, he seemed very happy with the life that I, you know, built for us. The Martha Stewart looking holidays that everyone came to our house. We had a big historic house, a well-known house in our area. And, you know, for me, I wasn't satisfied till it looked like a magazine in there. And he kicking back, you know, 11 o'clock Christmas night, he'd be like, it was a great Christmas. Everything was beautiful. So I kept getting A's on my report card with him. Right.
Yeah.
But I started an insomnia. I started really bad asthma related problems. And I started to just get tired, so tired. And then I would say about 5 years ago, I got angry and lonely, very lonely.
So it looked like on the outside, everything's really working. There's really nothing to point to say, oh, he's a terrible husband. You're not on the brink of divorce. There's not really, but you were feeling anxious, it sounds like, and it was coming out in this insomnia and asthma and exhaustion.
Yes, I was very exhausted, and I think we were doing a dance where he was probably getting tired of, and then I had gone back to work. So then it was like a real mountain. And I think that he really felt like he didn't know how to kind of take stuff back off my plate. And at the same time, I wasn't willing to let things off my plate because he certainly doesn't put a dinner together that looks like a Martha Stewart magazine.
No, he wouldn't do it right. And Christmas was not going to look like, historic house Martha Stewart either, probably, if he did it, if he let him do it.
Nope. And then it became, the date nights went by the wayside. The physical intimacy went by the wayside. And I would say through COVID, it got real ugly because my skill set is beautiful parties. My skill set is beautiful happy hours. I run happy hours and all these crazy parties that nobody else does. I do Yappy New Year as a dog party. I do I'm always once, twice a month, I'm running parties. I was involved with my kids' activities. I was there. I was the mom for the team. So now I can't do my set of skills during COVID. I can't have my control over everything looking perfect because there's nothing to put on. There's no party to have. There's no trip to plan. There's no one coming for the holidays, not a single soul. So that's where it really crashed up, as I think through COVID, because I couldn't put on the show that I thought he loved. It made him happier. And he's thinking this total national disaster is a great time. And I'm looking at him like, are you crazy? I'm miserable. I can't even properly wrap gifts because I can't get to Target. Like, what are you talking about? And it would be some of the worst days of our marriage were in there where my lack of control, lack of ability to control was really hitting its top because now we have a national pandemic. My children were both diagnosed with a very highly problematic. Both my children were diagnosed with hemophilia in January of 2020. So
Ooh.
all the programs, all the home health care aides that are supposed to come over and give us presentations and teach us, all that went by YouTube. So now I can't really mother the way I want to mother. I can't Martha Stewart the way I want to Martha Stewart. My business, I was trying to figure out how to run my business by Zoom, and it was disastrous.
It sounds hard. Sounds very stressful. So, and so what was happening in your marriage as a result of that?
Really, it got real hateful. I don't want to say hateful. It got cold. It got cold, very cold around here. We went into marriage therapy pretty early on. I was a big believer. I'm a divorce lawyer by trade.
Oh,
For
oh,
two decades in the business. So I
wow.
knew that was what I was supposed to do. And I knew
Right.
the best one in town that I had sent dozens of people to over the years.
Oh,
And he sat in marriage therapy having a blast. And I became more and more and more miserable with every therapeutic session.
why was that? Why was he having a blast and you were getting more miserable?
I really thought this therapist was going to say that I was doing everything right and he was doing everything wrong. And that's not what was said. She was also a colleague. So I was like, you'd think you'd be on my team.
Yeah.
So we did that. And then I would say it came to a real horrible head. I turned 50 in May of 2021. And after putting on like a crazy perfect party for his 50th the year before, he told me he wasn't going to do a single thing, not a single thing. And when we were together 30 years, my whole adult life, more than my adult life was with my husband. I couldn't believe that I wasn't worthy of some kind of celebration or anything. He hadn't done a single thing and he didn't want to. And friends and family got involved and were like, hey, dude, you really can't screw this up. I had planned to go visit my father out of state for my 50th birthday, thinking, well, at least this guy was there. So at least my dad will care it's my birthday. And he was such a mess in marriage therapy that the marriage therapist said, you got to take him with you. I was like, wait, what? The purpose of the whole trip is for me to get the heck away from him. You're telling me to bring him? Oh my God, no. So we flew out for the trip. I sat in first class by myself crying on my 50th birthday, flying out of our city. And he sat in coach. And then we got there and we actually had a great 2 days where I said, oh, it's my birthday. I'm not making a reservation. I'm not making a plan. I don't know where we're going. I don't know what car we're renting. I don't need this. And he had never really before handled any of that stuff. And he did a pretty great job. I'm a huge Frank Sinatra fan. He took me to a restaurant Frank Sinatra had been reputed to go to. So it was kind of that kind of thing where I basically said, I threw up my hands and I was like, I'm at rock bottom. I have a husband that doesn't love me on my 50th birthday. So like, where else is there to go? So we had a great weekend and we both came back here and we said, we dread going back to marriage therapy next week. Like, we don't want to go back to marriage therapy. Like, I'm really miserable in there. And then I'm basically nasty to him the whole week after. So like, why go back? But he felt like we had to see it through. So we went back in there and another 3 months later, I flew, COVID was lifting, international borders were open. So I flew home to my country and he dropped me off at the airport and I said, I love you. And he was dead silent.
Oh.
And I was like, wow. And I came back and I was like, hey, okay, there's still a bag of tricks here. There's Marriage Saving Gurus online. Let's try this program. Let's try that program. Let's try this program. He reluctantly entered into a program with me, a joint program, and proceeded to make fun of it. And basically ruined it for me too. because he was so snarky and sarcastic. And that would have been September. And then he left, he moved out. We bird nested 50-50. I basically couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't imagine that this was my life, right? Because I know everything. I'm a divorce lawyer.
Yeah.
I married a good guy, right?
Yeah.
I have made a great life for him by being a perfect wife.
Yes.
I was like empty. Like I have nothing in me. I am empty beyond empty beyond empty. So I basically found you through trying 2 other online marriage saving programs. And I found yours because I knew I needed daily help. That if I did anything else on a Tuesday, I'd be a very good girl on Tuesday and follow principles on Tuesday and Wednesday. And on Thursday, I was not in good shape. And I needed daily support. I was having trouble through the nights. I was looking fantastic on Zoom at work. The whole world out there thought I had it all together, and I was probably the best looking, best acting, most polite, most forward thinking, separated woman you'd ever seen. I was like, you know, the queen of being just dumped because I was doing great. Everyone kept telling me how great I was doing. I had to spend my days, my 8-hour days in divorce for work.
Oh, gosh.
And I started logging into the late night calls, the latest one you have, very frequently, listened a lot. It took a long time to get ready to talk. I remember hearing a little bit of a gasp when people found out I was a 2 decades divorce lawyer sitting in there. And they're like, well, if she can't figure it out, there's no one for the rest of us. I know the look on people's faces were like, holy moly, this woman's got problems. How can I what? And I just a little at a time, it would just, I didn't care what was for dinner. You know, we still had Sunday dinner as a family. We still would laugh at the table. We still went to our kids' activities and made snarky comments about the, you know, overworked, freaking out parents there. We still did favors for one another because we both have elder care, very, very burdensome elder care. Both of us are POA for 2 different relatives. He's on one, I'm on the other.
Power of attorney. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So we have to be in constant communication about, you know, the legal, the healthcare, all that. So we were helping each other out through it. But he, every single time I said, hey, there's a lot to save here. He said, no, there isn't. He really thought we could bird nest, be together for all the holidays. And he had started to see other people, and that our new people, you know, we would find new people and they would come too.
So he's going down a road that you're horrified about. This is not at all what you want. Okay. And just to clarify, bird nesting, this is the first I've heard that term, but it means that you are home with the kids and then you leave and then he comes and stays home with the kids. And then, so you're not together, but you're both, but the kids stay put instead of shuttling the kids. You shuttle yourselves.
Right.
Okay.
The kids stay put and we shuttle back and forth.
Okay. Gotcha. Wow. And so he's really saying he's done. Like, no, there's no.
He is absolutely done. And he absolutely believes that we're going to have a fairy tale divorce and separation where we're best friends. Cause he told me I was his best friend. He couldn't talk to anybody else the way he talked to me. And I'm like, really? Then why do the other women get the really nice dinners that I see on American Express? Because that's a really nice place. I would have loved to go there. He was like, yeah, actually one place I felt kind of bad because I knew you'd really love it.
Okay. Wow. Ouch, 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 ouch.
Oh.
This is painful.
Painful.
And what is he saying? Like, why? Why can't he stay? What?
He said he absolutely did not love me. His heart was empty. He was absolutely sure that there was no reversal of this, none.
So this is completely terrifying because you've seen the divorces. You know, none of them are fairy tales, first of all, right? Are there fairy tale divorces?
Well, they don't hire lawyers, those people, so I don't see
Oh,
them in my business.
that's a good point. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So no, but I also felt like the fairy tale he was looking at is really hard for anybody else, right? So if I met somebody else and he met somebody else, even if he and I were pretty even Steven and we felt comfortable with our level of contact, these other people would have baggage too. What
Yeah.
what healthy fantasy world does he live in where four
I
adults
don't know.
and a
I don't
smattering
know.
of kids everywhere are all going to think it's all like, the Brady Bunch, we're all
Right.
going to,
And
like, I
those
don't
other
know
people
what.
have kids. And then, yeah, the bird nesting thing. How does that work? Yeah.
I was like, so I leave here dressed up to go out with somebody else? Is that what I'm supposed to do? Like,
Wow.
it was,
Wow.
I would just stare at him like, are you disbelieving the world he thought was going to exist on the other side? And at the same time, I was accepting and adopting and getting ready to be done too. And I was attending your sessions and I started really exercising. I'd gone through a lot of health issues throughout this, which didn't help our problems because the problem with controlling everything is then when you're sick, your husband doesn't know how to do anything.
Mm.
Right? We also moved from one city to another. And I knew that I had broken my husband and I had broken my husband because I told him on one day I was seeing a specialist. I said, but remember, I have my appointment. So don't text me during my appointment. I gave you all the paperwork. You know where everything is. So he was going to our old house to move out of it. And I'm sitting in our new house with the kids in COVID and sick. And he's calling me incessantly, asking me where things are. And I can literally tell him, bend, look to the left in our old house where I haven't set foot in 5 months. And I thought, this is my fault. I broke my husband because I didn't let him worry about any of these things. And now he can't help me when I'm sick.
Wow. That's a incredibly generous perspective, accountable, very accountable. But yeah, I mean, so this is an epiphany you're having. Go ahead.
It's all kind of glommed together. I'm working with you. I'm doing your program at the same time. I did some individual therapy for myself. I needed some grief counseling. I lost a few people over the last 5 years and really thought that I was helping myself by going to work right away. During my sister's funeral, I ran payroll from the funeral florist's office for my business. That's not normal. You need to stop being superwoman and go through a grieving
That's
process.
hard. Yeah, that's very rough. That's very rough. Yeah.
So basically, between your program, individual therapy, and really being physically sick, I realized that I had built a mess for us all because not only does my husband not know how to do anything, and I'm on major drugs to breathe. And I've got to review our tax return and file our taxes right now. I'm not coherent enough to read a tax return, but I haven't been letting him, right?
Yeah.
Our kids are like, oh, I need my uniform. And I'm like, ask daddy. Daddy doesn't know where it is, right? So I'm like, now I'm angry. I have to do everything. Oh my God, I have to do everything. Oh my God, how come you don't know where anything is? But I didn't let him do anything.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I just feel very protective of you right now, Charlie. I'm like, wait a minute, but you're sick. You can barely breathe. You need some help. Someone's got to help you. But you were both helpless and kind of looking at this as your own wreckage, which is incredible.
Yeah, it
I mean,
was
and
wreckage,
horrible, awful
horrible
feeling.
wreckage. And now I've learned there's a statistic about the divorce rate with sick wives, sick children. The divorce rate is dangerously high if there's a chronic illness for the wife or for the children.
Makes sense,
The
right?
divorce rate is unaffected by a chronic illness of the husband.
Oh,
Now,
interesting.
look at my story and think,
Yeah.
how many of us are building a house that he doesn't know how to operate in? And now we get sick,
It
or the kids get
crashes.
sick.
It all
We
crashes.
feel like so overwhelmed because he can't help because we haven't been letting him.
Wow. Because he's not in the know. He's not on the inside of any of the stuff. He doesn't
No,
even know where it is.
no, no. At one
Wow.
point, I was overdosed on steroid because he couldn't count the pills. And so
Oh,
finally, I came downstairs and I was like, something's wrong here because I think 7 is more than 5. And I was supposed to be on 7, then 6, then 5, then 4. And looking at the number left in the bottle, something's wrong. And at that
wow.
point, I was like, oh my God, this is an intelligent, caring man that has no understanding how to operate because I have been controlling, thinking I was superwoman, thinking I was helping him, that I was a super mom, super professional, super everything. And I have hurt us all because my kids are like wondering, where's our stuff? And what happened at taco night?
Yeah.
He is coming up failure, failure, failure. He can't get anything right with me, right? He
Mm,
gets the Gatorade, but I wanted the orange Gatorade. Like
yeah.
he can't win. And we are spiraling bad. And physically it's very terrifying for me because I would get like sort of a terminal diagnosis that was inaccurate. And I sat on that for like a week.
Wow.
Yeah, they were really scared for me. So it was just the biggest nightmare. So when I started the program, when I started individual therapy, when I couldn't even walk for 10 minutes. I couldn't even walk for 10 minutes. But then I could walk for 10. Then I could walk for 12. Then I could walk for 15. I was a competitive swimmer in high school. I couldn't even do 4 laps in the pool. But I went in there and
Wow.
got a new bathing suit to just do 4. And then I did 6. And now I do 40, you know. Um,
Wow.
so I pushed. So I really, the self-care was very medically based for me. But when my body looked better, I was like, I'll get my hair highlighted. I think I'll get my nails done. I don't do that enough. And certainly through the encouragement of the program, like it was self-care. It was like, wow, things are tense in this house. I'm gonna go ride my bike. Wow,
Yeah.
he's coming by here to pick something up. Yeah, I'll be gone. I'll be getting something done. I'll be, doing a hydrofacial. I'll be somewhere. But I basically put a good solid 3 or 4 months into intense health-based, beauty-based self-care. And then with that, I started creative writing. I just started writing
Oh,
um, a little bit of fiction at night, kind of a story that had been swirling in my head for over a decade. But again, felt like,
wow.
well, I can't sit and write at my computer. I've got to fold clothes. I can't sit and write at my computer. I've got to bill some hours for work. I can't sit and write at my computer. So I don't know how it turned out where I've only basically lost 4 pounds. I think I look pretty much exactly the same. I wear the same shades of makeup. I wear the same clothes. Um, and, you know, and yet thinks I'm like the hottest thing ever. Um, he is like, I mean, there's other women your age who don't look like you. And I'm like,
Oh.
no, the city where we live, everyone looks good for their age. we live in a pretty plastic kind of place. Everyone looks good for their age where we live. And I'm looking at them going, no, there's really not that much changed here. And yet
All of a
I
sudden you're
guess there
hot.
is. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
something is.
feel physically really good. That's just plain old medical recovery, as well as just putting nothing else in front of caring for myself anymore, you know?
Yeah.
So the kids, they just eat cereal now. They won't die. Like,
That's good. This is good. Okay, so what tell me about this turnaround because he thinks you're hot. Now he's complimenting you. It's
oh yeah. So this is a fun piece. This is
okay.
actually the most fun. This is the jaw-dropping part. So by late November, our anniversary had come and gone, and he wrote me a very nice letter saying that he had really enjoyed 21 years with me and they were over. And he had fond memories of 21 years and they were over. I got that card on our anniversary.
Wow.
And
Awful.
basically by now I can see, right, he's getting new clothes. He's never letting anybody see the inside of that apartment he's got.
Oh
Like, so now it's on.
gosh.
He's dating. So he's on Match.com. And I joined Match.com. And guess who I ran into 3 minutes into my own search for someone else?
Your husband.
And even though our pictures are there, we're both using false names and we start talking as two different people on Match. And I have kind of a more interesting backstory. I'm an investment banker on Match, and I'm in New York all the time. I have this interesting backstory, and he has this interesting backstory. And we start kind of a dirty email situation. And
Kind of a you've got mail situation, right? Like
kind of it's supposed to be what I think is the Pina Colada song, right?
yeah, that's right. It's the Pina
Pina
Colada
Colada
song too. Yeah. That's right. It is. Yeah.
And we go through the holidays like this, and we're all having a great time. And I'm dressed to the nines, and we're at this big party for New Year's. It's glamorous as anything. And 9 days later, the American Express bill goes cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching with Tinder. Plenty of fish.
Yeah.
8 different
Dating sites. Wow.
So now I think that, okay, we've done things through the marriage therapy way. I started a program with you. I've got his attention as this alter ego. And we're dating. We have great dates as this alter ego. And he says, yeah, actually, I didn't change anything. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Because now I've gone as far. I'm like, you didn't like the old version of me. You don't like the new version of me. I'm out now. Now I'm really, I thought I was at rock bottom before. Now I'm really at rock bottom. So
because he said, what did he say? He said, you didn't change anything?
He says it doesn't really change.
Oh, how he felt. I see.
How he felt.
Okay.
He's totally turned on by this alter ego. He has a great time with this alter ego. He and I, as co-parents, sit on the porch and we talk and laugh, and a new series comes out. We talk, did you see that scene and this character? Like, everything's fine. But he's telling me he absolutely does not love me. He feels terrible. He doesn't want to come home, but there's nothing there. And I'm like, okay, well, now I am truly out of my bag of tricks. I have no more bag of tricks.
Yeah.
So it gets really nasty with words exchanged, really ugly, heart-wrenching. And so finally one day I was like, okay, I completely accept that. I agree. Fine. I understand. I was like, but make sure that you're sure, because professionally, I know that this is very hard to come back from. I said, no, I'm sure. So I went on one dinner date with one person. And I don't know I don't think he was truly stalking me, my husband, or if he just felt the universe shift. But the next morning he was begging me back.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. And you, and you were doing the self-care at this point. Is that right? You were doing all your self-care and getting physically into much better shape, less exhausted. Okay. So do we know if he knew you went on this date? Did he know?
I mean, he didn't know at that point, but in the conversation where he says, I'm like, okay, I think through your program and through the others, I really felt that the trajectory was going to be pure forward, right?
Yeah.
I didn't think that there was going to be that once we got the momentum, once we got out of the gate, that we would just keep going forward and get better.
Yeah. That wasn't your path. That wasn't the path at all. So it was especially terrifying.
Throwback real hard.
Yeah.
And then by March, he asked if he could come home. And then at some point he was like, thank you for the opportunity.
Wow.
And at that point I was like, okay, I kind of don't know what I did right here. And now he reflects and says that when he wanted to come, when he felt like coming home, he felt like he was stubborn. Now his friends knew he was getting divorced. Now he was talking to these women that men decide that they're going to do something. And when they realize it's a bad idea, they still keep on doing it. That's
could be, yeah.
Is what he kind of explained to me is what was going on with him. And so now, we've kind of melded the two worlds. So we still have our alter egos do right to each other. And they have gotten together a few times off-site, off campus, somewhere else, so that we can really be outside of our childcare, elder care, suburban neighbors element, the element that makes you not feel like a couple. There's not much of our home element that's sexy or glamorous or interesting.
Yeah, makes sense. So
yeah, and
you've created this other world where there's like this intrigue and mystery and glamour and excitement. It sounds really fun. So yeah, okay.
And yet we still have coffee on the porch. We still,
co-parent coffee. Yeah.
Do watch Saturday Night Live sketches together, and we still have all that. It's just the notion that it was going to just be a linear movement forward was not my path, and I think those were the hardest days to know that. Okay, now what else do you want from me? I kind of felt like I couldn't win.
Right. It sounds, and as someone you're a high achiever, right? So you're very accomplished and you're kind of used to like, there's my goal and now I'll just reach for it. And then I will win the swim meet and I will pass the bar and I will, right. And this was not any of those. And it almost sounds like, and what I hear is there was a big shift in his response when you went on the date. And I'm wondering if there was also a shift in your, like it was kind of, okay. Yeah. Let's hear about that. Right. Cause it sounds like you had, so what was your shift?
There was a big shift. Cause I remember waking up that morning. I went on this great date with a great guy, and waking up the next morning going, I'm valuable. I'm interesting. This guy had a great time with me. He was texting me the next morning. And it was dinner for 5 hours, I mean, you go to dinner, you're still at the table 5 hours later.
Then think something's going right. Yeah.
Right. So there was
desperation and neediness maybe, and urgency for, okay. And that allowed your natural irresistibility to come forward. It sounds like, is that fair to say?
Yep. It is fair to say. And I really was very, very opposed to either one of us dating. And he was the one who's like, come right after our anniversary. He was like, yeah, I'll be dating. And then the game, right? So on January 1st, he took me to the park and said, we've had such a great time. I'm not going to date. I was going to start dating in the new year and now I'm not going to date. And then a week later, he's on all these dating sites. Like it was like I was on a roller coaster of just whatever he's going to do. This is not the best time for your girlfriends to be real involved because my girlfriend was a pillar of support, my best friend, but the whole time I hate him.
She wanted to kill him. Yeah.
She didn't want me to kill him. She didn't want me to take him back. Like, and that's where I was like,
hurting you.
My professional head was like, I got to only really spill it with like-minded people. So then it was actually when we were reconciling that I got the greatest resources out of your program, because being around my professional, high achieving, I can totally be financially independent. Girlfriends are like, screw him, leave your marriage, screw him, leave your marriage, screw him. Like, how dare you take him back? This was not the right people for me to be around. Right.
Not for
because I had
great. Yeah.
Right. I had a lot of great years. I didn't want to measure my marriage or measure my husband in a short time frame. I wanted to measure it over the long haul and look at it through that and look at it, if you look at every empirical measurement on marriage, We live longer. We're healthier, especially men, but also women. Our children are healthier. Certainly not staying in a marriage of abuse or addiction, but staying in a marriage that's stale, that's gotten ugly, that is crawling. It takes a long time to get it to walk and then run. I knew that I believed in the long haul. Had I just stayed in my crew of my pissed off girlfriends, I would have not been open to reconciling my marriage the same way I was in sessions with you, because the women that I met through your program were from similar walks of life like me, or very different walks of life. They were also around the world. So you can hear a twinge of different cultural expectations from marriage, right? You can hear that, boy, we just slam the door and give up fast in the United States. And that's not truly how it works everywhere else. So a lot of your other people from other countries, other cultures, having them chime in on their goals and their values. And then hearing, sometimes, well, that's way better than I have it. And that's way worse than I have it. Right. That was also that environment on those Zooms. And I made it very nice for myself. My Zooms I had wine, I had chocolate, I wore my favorite pajamas, I lit aromatherapy candles. Like, it was a treat for myself to be with those women. And I felt so badly. You see some women are coming in on their iPhone, like crouching in the corner because they've got kids all around. Yeah. And I was so blessed to be able to really get so much out of it, because my kids are older. I had privacy. I was able to do it in a really, really comfortable, realm that I created for myself as I did the program. But I actually think your program gave me the most value during that wobbly reconciliation decision period. Even though I was reminded to do the self-care. And once you guys reminded me, I was like, let's go. I need to make a hair appointment. I need to make a nail appointment. Turns out it was easy to do that. Turns out it was very easy on Amazon to start buying really good products, skin products, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, the world is really easy now to just take care of yourself. So just booking online for a nail appointment, didn't even have to do much to really bring about that self-care. But it was really, really the most impactful and lifting for me during that wobbly time. That's when I was like, oh, what have I been doing in here? Right. This is what I want. This was my goal. And, there's this legal principle we have for lawyers. It's called the tipsy coachman. And I'm certainly not endorsing drunk driving. Let me just say that. But it is the notion that sometimes a legal principle is correct, even though a judge arrives at that legal principle the wrong way. And we say it's just like the tipsy coachman. They arrive at the tavern eventually, they arrive at the country home eventually. Even if the coachman is tipsy, you still got to your destination. Well, for me, I don't know if I would have gotten to my destination without those last couple months with the girls that I had from your sessions, because I was angry and I wanted to even the score. I wanted to get a taste of his own medicine. I had a girlfriend tell me, you don't know what he's been doing with these other women. You have a very short window of time if you want to do anything physical with anybody else. And I was like, I don't think I want to, but how long do you think I have?
Yeah, right. You're of two minds in a way.
Yeah.
Because it's such a crazy situation that you didn't expect to find yourself in. Yeah.
I didn't expect to find myself in it. And I didn't expect that it wouldn't be linear. So when the little toy car hit the wall and went backwards and hit the wall and went backwards, I really didn't think it was going to hit the wall and go backwards. I really thought that I would approach the wall and it would be okay.
It would just go through. Yeah.
No.
Wow. So, okay. So having the support, how many of those calls were you going to, would you say, roughly?
Twice a week for sure.
Yeah.
Sometimes I needed it more. Sometimes I could only do like a mid-afternoon call and I was like volume down at work.
Yeah.
But the really good ones were in my element, in my environment. And at the end, I think I spoke a couple times at the end and I was like, I think I'm a success story. I don't know if I'm supposed to be here anymore, but it was actually really good that I was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I thought, immediately turn it off. You don't need to spend this time. You don't need to spend this money. Take that time and spend it on your husband. I think I was better off sitting in there because my vibe was angry still. My vibe was a little vindictive still. My vibe was almost spinning backwards to control, like.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
it was good that I hung in there longer because I needed to hear from the women who were way further backwards than me to remember where I had been.
Yes. And so how are you different now than you were?
Well, I think at this point, like if this happened again, I'd really be okay.
Wow.
So I feel physically good. I feel like the skills were just helpful everywhere. You know what I mean? Like I can now hear, like when there's instigation and drama going on around you, neighbors, coworkers, friends, and you're like, that's on their paper. I say it
Yeah.
to I say it all the time. I was like,
Yeah.
well, this woman is totally screaming at everyone on the committee. And I was like, but guess what? That has nothing to do with me. That has everything to do
Right.
with her. She's working on something else. And I'm not participating. I am not going to leave here and get on my phone and be like, can you believe this? Like, all that is gone.
Wow.
All that control that we do in our worlds as mothers, as our worlds as women, the drama train you put on yourself and with your girlfriends and you think you're helping each other, that is crazy. You should get a new doctor. No, you
Yeah.
shouldn't. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You should let things go.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I
So
would
you're
never speak to that person ever again if
yeah.
I were you. No,
Right.
you can let
Yeah.
things go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
You're
I
probably going to
feel
see him
this,
again next week when you go to that same thing where you met him the first time. Right. Yeah.
yeah,
So you're
right?
like, yeah.
So
Yeah.
the skills were so translatable to me in other relationships.
Yeah.
So my relationships with my clients are hurting. My clients, I used to pull them in, and now I'm like, it's 5. I only worry about you till 5.
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
5, I'm going home to my husband and my family because 5 o'clock, my
Yeah.
husband and I sit on the porch.
You got to
Um,
take care of Charlie.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so it's definitely a different. The skills were so valuable to me in my work settings and other personal relationships, as well as my relationship with my husband. That
Yeah.
this was just too long coming for me to feel like I deserved the amount of time I was spending on myself. Um, the term deserved is and worth it
Yeah.
are who were in bad places in my vocabulary, and now they're in good places in my vocabulary.
Gotcha. Yeah. It changed your definition of what you deserve and what you're worth.
Right.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
the depersonalization of negativity around me is massive. So I mean, this receptionist at a doctor's office last week, I could have killed her. And I was like, nothing to do with me. It
Nothing
has
to do with
everything to do with
me.
her.
Nothing to
You
do with me.
know,
I love it. I
that's
love it.
on her
And
paper. That's on her paper. That's on her paper. I say that all
the
day
time.
long
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Love it.
So,
And what's your marriage like now?
it was actually kind of weird to find the spot where we wanted to be because I was actually thinking I wanted to throw away the baby with the bathwater because I didn't know what my husband loved, right? I didn't know that he loved the porches. He loved taco night. He loved walking the dog with me. He loved very simple things. And I thought that those were the boring things that led him to be interested in other women, to just be
Uh,
bored. I thought that I was going to have to keep up the alter ego world all the time. So
mm,
it turns out that we both kind of want a combination of the two. We really want to be sexy, interesting, glamorous. I mean, we met at 21, so we've seen each other with that. So we do want that, but we really also love walking the dog and chit-chatting with our elderly neighbors. So we've actually found a way to bridge the two worlds, and really have the best parts of our old marriage too. And that's a
mm,
new development for me, to really embrace the best parts of the old part, because I've been trying to do everything different, right? I've been saying, well, we can't do that for Christmas. We always did that for Christmas. Well, no, we can. It was good.
mm,
You know,
mm, mm.
um, there will be a lot more prepackaged things, more microwavable things,
Yeah,
less.
some ease instead of
Yes. Yes.
the more stressful, anxiety producing
Yes.
activities. So I hear a comfort. Yeah, I hear ease and comfort and
And spark
um
too.
and spark too. That's right. And passion. Yeah, companionship and passion. So and do you feel like it could happen again? Like this might happen again? Like he might leave again or decide he
I
wants
don't
to?
know. I'm really realistic in we kind of don't know what landed us here. I mean, I certainly recognize my own contribution in ways that were unhealthy for me in many aspects of my life, not just my marriage. So, but I will never really know what was ticking all inside of him, right?
No.
So I don't have that supreme confidence in the longevity of this marriage like I used to have, but I also have supreme confidence in I'll be okay.
Beautiful.
Um, yeah, I'll be okay
Yeah.
because it turns out when I did talk to people about dating and all that, I really just really enjoyed so much time alone. I took one trip by myself, went to visit family, but then did some tourist things outside of that and enjoyed my time alone. Walked city streets and went to a museum and really learned to like being with myself. And it's not a scary proposition anymore. Um, it has some definite value and there's a sexy aspect to just being in a museum by yourself. See what you want to
Yes.
see.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I am comfortable to not know, which is new for me because I'm a
Yeah.
planner. But I am comfortable with knowing that it could happen again. And I feel like more than ever before, I'll be okay if it does.
Wow. That's amazing. Well, I love that. So it sounds like your confidence comes from inside Charlie and not from how your marriage is going to look.
Right.
Is it? Yeah. Yeah. Well, that feels like a superpower in a way.
Yeah. And it's a superpower that I've got to kind of like, I've managed to just really frame it in a way that I'm not a martyr. It's not like I put up
Mm-mm.
with everything and I did everything and I pulled all the stops because that's really not the way it is. I put in a lot of effort in things that were right for me. There were things that were not right for me. And there were things that really helped me outside of the marriage. But, when I hear in my professional world, or even I've heard on, in the Zooms with, the group coaching calls, when I hear I did everything, I'm like, that might be the wrong thing.
Yeah. 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 It's interesting, right? It's a little different than how you might have thought about it before. It's certainly different than how I used to think about things when you say you did everything.
Yeah.
Might not be the wrong, I was doing the wrong work. I was doing the wrong work on my marriage before.
So wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, we went to the airport and I said I love you and he didn't say it back, right?
Yeah.
And do you know that on that trip I bought stuff for him like cuz I was out of the country getting these groceries and snacks that you can only get there that he loved. And I'm brought him like why would I do that?
I know.
I had to get that stuff through customs like why
Yeah.
was I doing that and burnt like the martyrdom and the give and the beg and the that's the wrong thing. That's the wrong thing. So doing everything is the wrong thing. I think
Yeah.
many times over, definitely in the situation that I was in.
And along those lines, what's your tip for somebody who's in your situation where he's like, I'm out, it's over, I'm dating, I love you, or you're my best friend, not I love you.
You're
You're
my
my
best
best friend,
friend, and I've cherished the years we've had because he couldn't have been nicer about the whole thing,
right? But she
which
wants what
made it
you have
hard to
now, where you
hate
guys walk
him.
the dog and he's back, and you're talking to the elderly neighbors together, and yeah, there's Taco Tuesday again. What if she wants that back? What should she do?
I mean, I really think there is it sounds hokey, the let go and let God, and just, my dad, when I was a kid, used to always say, row your own boat, row your own boat, row your own boat. And all I could do was fix what I could truly control, which was myself, right? The only one I can control is me. So that's all I could do was work on myself. And then I don't even know. I sat up one night. I remember trying to forgive myself. And that I had trouble with that, trying to find, because I was so mad at myself. Like many times I may have worked late, and all these things that ruined my marriage. Later, he would tell me it was none of those things. So even what you think is the problem, it isn't the problem. I mean, this could have been garden variety midlife crisis for him. I don't know. I still don't know what started it. All I know is the parts that I can do.
So rowing your own boat
Yes.
has made a big difference for you. Yeah, love that. And what would you say to Charlie if you go back in time? Tell her what you know now.
I'd be like, girl, you're going on a longer, rougher ride than you know.
You want to warn her, huh? That this is coming out.
I think what I would say is it will not be in a straight line. It will not be like a linear path forward, that it will hiccup. And for us, it hiccuped big. And I still say the worst parts of my marriage were after, like, what would other people outside looking in say was success, right? Like, I got him physically interested in me, all this stuff had lined up. And then one night I'm looking at the Amex bill, which he knew. I'm the one who looks at the Amex bill because I have to pull my business expenses off of it. And I'm looking at it going, oh my God, he started this whole other life. And I just thought that victory or the finish line had come weeks before that. I didn't realize I was still in there. So when he in March said, I want to come home, I still stayed in your program, I think for 5 months, 6 months, because it isn't linear. And I was afraid I'd be my own worst enemy. I was angry. I had been lied to at some points. And, trusting words was hard for me.
Yeah.
And then I started to remember when I was being lied to, I kind of felt it, but I just didn't know to feel it at the time. You know what I mean? Later you look back and you're like, oh, wait a minute, but I didn't know that night, so for me, there's such self-trust, trust the vibe. And professionally, I've been in session with many, many women telling me, but I knew. Yeah, you did. And that trust that you knew is your tool for the future, right? Because you kind of don't have to go into that sneaky detective mode, because
you already know.
I would say that's the biggest difference of all.
How do you think it's affected your kids that you did all this?
That is kind of $1 million question. I think we did this better than most people do, but we still did not help our kids through what we went through. We really, really shielded them, I think, from the worst, but they can feel the vibe. They could feel the vibe in the house. I think my son is more effective. He's 13. He's pretty closed off. My daughter's 16. So we kind of don't know how it's affected them, but I also know that those picture perfect successful marriages aren't necessarily genetically passed down to the kids. I see that professionally. I see that in my own family, that I see family members who have these perfect 57 years married, 3 kids in messed up relationships, divorces, multiple divorces. And I'm like, that's one thing that we have to really work hard at, behaving properly. I go to court on this. Certainly behaving properly to shield your children from stuff, while also, I'm in a state where it is state law that you're not allowed to discuss with your children what has transpired. whose fault it is. That is a violation of our divorce statute. To use your children to relay information or tell them that is considered one of the most unhealthy things you can do. So my kids never knew anything as to why or who or what or when or anything. But at the same time, we have to recognize, especially with teenagers who get stuff, that is very hard for them to be in a vacuum. So all we could say was, I can tell you that we both don't want this. We both wish it was better. We both look at ourselves. We both look inside of ourselves and think of our own shortcomings that have brought us to this day. And it's neither one of our faults, and it's both of our faults. We said that several times to our children. We've been very, very secretive and shielded our children from that. And I think that's critically important. I think if you let on to your children that there's adultery, that there's someone to blame, I think that is so wrong, and it is a horrible way to measure yourself by your children. Being angry at the other parent, it's legally wrong in my state, and I'm a professional witness to the fact that it is extremely harmful to children in their future relationships, distrust and all that kind of stuff. It's just better that you own your shortcomings, and you say you're sorry you have them, and you say you're working on them. And we told our children that part. I got to say that we did a pretty good job with that, and yet I still worry for them.
Oh, especially being in the business, and
yes,
and you've seen all the harm that
yes.
happens. So I really hear an intense commitment to protecting your kids through this breakdown that you went through. It's a very inspiring outcome that you have. He's back. And even though I hear you saying, I'm not sure, you've said a couple of times, I'm not sure what part wasn't working and what part is working now. But I also hear you having a lot of confidence in yourself. And I think also confidence in the future of your family. Do I have that right?
I think we're going to be fine. I know I can build beautiful traditions for my kids that look different than the ones we had. I know that I took them to Europe by myself. That was pre-planned. And so I did. About 2 months ago, I took them to Europe by myself and took them to a concentration camp by myself. Took them in front of the Russian embassy by myself. And really got to sit at the table and say, what did that feel like to be in these environments? And hear it translate to their school. And I got this without them, right? Yeah. That was these experiences and these conversations I had without my husband at all. Like it was really to know that they're gaining so much from me without him too, that they get something different from him than they get from me, and that's fine. And that I really feel we'll all be fine. And then also do this program because you need your girls. Okay. But the girls you need might not be the girls you've got. And that was very hard for me to realize that the girls I needed were not the girls I had. And they are amazing women in my sphere that are with me, that are texting me 20 times while I'm even here talking to you. I have incredibly wonderful girlfriends. They were the wrong friends to have through this. The wrong friend. Get into his cell phone. Let me teach you how to do it. No. Yeah.
Shopping for pain, right? Focusing on what you don't want instead of what you do want.
Yeah, I told him, I was like, you guys, what I've done is I've contracted all that divorce support work to this professional crew over the Empowered Wife, because y'all aren't good at this. You're not helping me.
Yeah.
I've got this one telling me to do this one telling me to do that. Like, my girlfriends were a disaster for me through this.
Wow.
Because they're bringing their own marriages to the table, right? You know what I mean? In the, you need to do this way. I didn't understand why it didn't work until looking backwards. I'm like, now I know why it doesn't work. Yeah. Because we should have been each doing our individual thing.
Yes.
And then be like, I'm better. How about you?
And there's really no such thing as working on a marriage anyway. There's only working on yourself.
There really isn't working on a marriage.
And then the marriage gets better, just like yours did. So, well, phenomenal story. Thank you so much for sharing it with us today, Charlie. Really amazing story.
Thank
and congratulations.
Thank you for everything. Thank you for everything. And I have to say thank you. And I have to say to the girls on those night calls, because I have the camera on, crying camera off, on, crying camera off, wine in a coffee mug at the beginning because I was embarrassed to show my wine glass at the beginning. And then later I was like, I can't drink a wine during this. That's it. That's all. That's why I'm doing this. But yeah, I'm so grateful for so many voices that I heard that, you know, and I don't know how many of them were in the same boat with me, that their regular crew of girlfriends were not.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
a great reminder. It's a great reminder. Your friends are great and they love you, but they may not know how to stand for your greatness and stand for your marriage the way that's going to uphold your vision of your marriage.
Right.
That you have now.
I would say that's the biggest takeaway from it for me was the crew that I was relying on for my support are an awesome supportive crew, but not for this.
Yeah. Well, fantastic. Thank you so much, Charlie. This has been very inspiring. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your story.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
If you'd like to be my guest on the Empowered Wife podcast and share about how you fixed a struggling relationship using the 6 intimacy skills, I would love to interview you. Just go to lauradoyle.org/podcast-guest to let me know that you are willing to make a big contribution to ending world divorce by telling your relationship story. I look forward to meeting you. That's lauradoyle.org/podcast-guest.
It's the worst relationship advice. The worst relationship advice. Yeah, it's the worst relationship advice. The worst relationship advice of the week.
And now it's time for the Worst Relationship Advice of the Week award. And the advice that's appalling me this week is from a student who writes, I saw this bumper sticker when I was out for a bike ride, and the poor man's wife doesn't know the 6 intimacy skills. Wish I could help them. Oh, I love your desire to help that woman stop suffering. And as you know, I love to hate terrible relationship advice. And therefore, because you sent this, I know you love me. And this is your anonymous shout out. I love you too. Thank you for helping me make the podcast so riveting. The bumper sticker she sent said, my wife says I'm not fun anymore. Well, duh, we're married. And okay, that's not strictly relationship advice. That's true. Maybe it's just a joke that isn't very funny. I remember my husband laughing so hard at a bumper sticker that said, driver carries no cash. He's married. And I didn't think that one was so funny either, but he sure did. That was before he became Mr. Moneybags. But I digress. Bumper stickers like this reinforce the depressing notion that marriage is just a drudgery until you die or get divorced. It's not fun. Get used to it. Which really obscures the astonishing adventure that awaits when you decide to make your marriage shiny and amazing, like we talk about every single week on this podcast. That discourages some people from ever taking the first step because they don't think there's any hope. But not only is there hope, there's laughter and silliness and playfulness and joy in marriage, in my experience. And for that reason, the slogan, my wife says I'm not fun anymore. Well, duh, we're married, is the very, very worst relationship advice I have heard all week. Listen and subscribe to the Empowered Wife podcast. Next week, I'll talk about 3 tips for handling doubts in a relationship. In the meantime, I hope you're having lots of fun. Today's fun fact is that our new pool has salt water in it because chlorine turns everything green, including my hair.